I've got a slightly different video for you guys. I thought it'd be kind of cool to show everybody a little bit of insight into my editing process, and I didn't really want to live stream me filming swolas and things like that. It's just I get nervous on camera and it's harder to play, so it's a lot easier to record stuff ahead of time and do it that way, but I digress. I usually like to double track my guitars because it makes the sound a lot thicker and more full. But what I wanted to show you is what I do after I've recorded my guitar parts. And I do this generally with any parts that I record, with the exception being for guitars. I like to double track it. So we'll speed things up a little bit and have a couple cuts in between as I do various different steps in the process. But I want to give you some insight into how I get the guitar takes that I use in my videos. So these are the recordings that I took for my Swola135 video. You can see I've actually got quite a few of them here, and some of them maybe look a little bit better than others, even in the beginning here. But you'll notice there's something I did with these ones over here on these takes. I like to take 16 different takes, or no, sorry, 15 takes, because that's how many tracks Ableton can support with the version I've got. I would upgrade the version, but I feel like I go manic and take way too many takes and consume a lot of time that way, so I don't really do that. The last take I took was number 16 here. I label the good takes this way, and I also label my video that way, so I know which video goes with which take I took. Whenever you guys see me post a Swola video, the take that is the main guitar, not the backing guitar, is going to be the guitar that I recorded it with, so the video matches up with the tracking, and that's because we're playing some pretty fast music, so I want my hands to match up. And if I use the one that I'm, posting as the recording, then it's gonna match up, right? So that's pretty cool. You can see there's kind of two different numbers over here, though. We've got guitar 37, we've got 16. What's up with that, Allie? Well, it's because sometimes I suck and I make mistakes, and the take is really just not good enough to carry forward. So in this instance, I took 37 guitar takes of this riff. My hands hurt a lot after I did that. I don't know. It was cool though. I really enjoyed this one. It was a nice fast beat, which I always like. They challenge me, and especially my right hand, which is a little bit slow. So I took each of my 15 different takes. I should mention this is numbered up to 16 because I had a take in here, take number 3, I believe. Yeah, it was take number 3 that I ended up just deleting because I decided it was bad afterward and I just wanted a fresh take instead of that one. I've kind of noodled around a little bit, but we'll go back to my numbers and why I have all these takes, and they're kind of out of order, right? You see some of the numbers on the bottom are right, but the numbers up here are not necessarily in perfect order. I guess down here they are, pretty much, but that's pretty cool. So the very first thing I do is I kind of take a look at the track, and I look where each of the different sections line up. So in here, I think this is a really good checkpoint, because in this measure, these are supposed to be half notes at the end, and you can see I got pretty close, but I'm still like maybe an eighth note off, and that's not great. But then we look at this one, and it's a little bit more solid, and we can kind of see that going down all the way. So that's one part that I can check, which is really cool. And then I can go over here. These are some triplets that are going to start out with a fill before it. You guys will see the Swola135 video probably before I get a chance to post this video, to be brutally honest with you. But there's going to be some 16th note triplets from here to here. And I can kind of see that in a lot of these that's really tight. I already went through and ranked it, but you kind of go down to some of these ones down at the bottom here that I kind of left hanging out. And it's not quite as good. So that's not really great takes. You'll also notice these are missing those extra numbers on the end, which I keep meaning to circle back around to. But that means I actually didn't even listen to these takes. I just kind of like listened to the other ones, and I took these takes and I was like, they just on paper don't even look good enough for me to make you guys listen to. So I decided to not really use them. I might come back later and take them for some sound if I have some sound issues with the other takes, but to be honest, listening to them, I don't think I'm going to be doing a lot of that in this video, which is pretty great. I get a little bit better each time I do one of these, and I really enjoy that. So then I'll look at the next checkpoint, And we can see in here, these are all like really, really tight, pretty close. We got this guy, he's a little bit off, but these are really nice takes here. And then we get more toward the end. Same sort of thing. I won't hide my shame too much. If we go back down to these takes down near the bottom, you'll see they're not quite as on point with what you would expect when you listen to one of my videos. So that's why we're not going to be using one of those. After I do this, I start listening to them. So sometimes I don't listen to the takes because honestly my time is limited and I've got better things to do sometimes. So if I've got good takes, there's no reason for me to listen to takes that are lackluster. So the next thing I'm going to do is go through, listen to each of the takes from top to bottom until I get to some of the lackluster ones. I get tired. I find some really good takes that I'm super duper happy with, and I'm like, it's just not getting better than that. And I label each of these takes with 2 different numbers. So you can see this one is a 16, which is the take number it was when I was playing. I decided to save it. Really the 15th take because I deleted number 3, but I digress. Then it's got this number in here, and that's how in time I feel it is compared to the other takes I'm deciding to save. So you can see 16, even though it's pretty in time, I gave it a 3, and I do it on a 1 to 3 scale. This is not going to be the take I will be using. It does have some good sound in it, so it might be the take that I end up taking, which is kind of cool. But number 2 here at the end is how good was the sound? You know, did every single triplet land? Did every pinch harmonic sound great? What was the quality? And this is all to save me time in editing because you don't want to take a crappy take and make it sound good, right? You want to take a good take and make it sound great. So we're not going to use this one probably at all because it's a 3 and it's a 2. So it's not really in time and it doesn't sound fantastic. So we can kind of go down and we've got some other ones. This one's a 2 and a 2. Mostly in time, but sounds still not great. Probably won't end up using that one. This one, 14, was a 2 and a 1. So it's out of time, but there might be some places where we need to steal some sound from it. So it's actually something that's potentially usable. We got this guy down here. He's a 1 and a 2. Now, these takes are okay, but because it's got a 2 in the sound quality, I don't really want to spend time listening to it over and over and figuring out what exactly is not perfect and fixing it. You can also see there's like a slightly small timing issue in there that we probably don't want. So I doubt I'll end up using that in any way, shape, or form. But then we got this one, 11. That's a 1 and a 1. We don't have any other double 1 takes this time around. Sometimes I end up with 2 or 3, but usually it's only a small handful of them because it makes it way easier for me to sift through and deal with all this because who wants to listen to 15 takes over and over again? I don't want to. I'm sure you don't want to either. So we're going to go back and spot check this take a little bit and damn, yeah, that is pretty on time. I think we'll probably end up using this take, so it's likely going to be the video that you guys are watching for my weekly Swola video. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to take number 11, and I'm going to hide this part because it's going to take me forever to do it. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to listen to it way too many times, and I'm going to dissect it and find out if there's any spots where I think the audio quality is not very great. And what I'm going to do is if there's mistakes or if there's audio quality issues, I'm going to fix those issues, and then I'm going to use that take for my video. After I've done that, then I'm going to come back and pick another take that lines up timing-wise with this take, or a set of takes that line up timing-wise with this take. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to create my double-tracked take, which is not the take that I have on the video. It usually has a little bit more editing, but it's done to give the guitar a much thicker sound in the long run. So, with that being said, I'm not going to make you guys watch through all that sort of stuff, so we're going to take a little break, and I'll come back in a second with most of that done. Alright, so it's been about a half hour to 45 minutes, and I've finished editing all of these takes. So, I wanted to take some time to show you what the original take sounded like and what my edit sounded like. So, without spending too much time, let me show you what the original take sounds like. that really wasn't too bad of a take, right? I mean, it sounded good. There were a couple parts, some of the palm mutes weren't great, and I really wasn't happy with the way this fill at the end turned out in that take. So if we look at the one that I actually edited down here, you'll see I took take 8, and I plugged in take 8 in a couple sections where I didn't really like what take 11 was doing. Overall, my takes are getting better, and I'm doing a better job of this. So this takes me a lot less time than it used to in the past. There's a lot less editing involved. I can just listen to the take, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. You develop an ear for it over time too, and you learn some of the stuff to listen to. Some of the things I like to focus on are like the triplets that are muted. It can sometimes miss the middle one, and it happens, and then you get dun dun instead of dun, and you don't like that, so sometimes you want to replace those. These are things that people are going to do when they're releasing songs and editing stuff. That's why seeing people live is so cool, because you get to see all that raw music straight away. But anyway, let me show you the edited take now. Okay, you'll notice that last section sounds a bit better. Overall, there's just kind of some general cleanness stuff that's been fixed along the way, and I think it just sounds better in general. The first take was pretty good. I honestly could have just used most of that. Minus this end section, that would have still just bothered me to send that out into the wild on one of my videos. So I definitely would replace that regardless. But the rest of this take was pretty good. So now take a look at that double-tracked take and go over the concept of double tracking just at a 500-foot view. There's plenty of YouTubers that will cover double tracking in more detail, as well as things like quad tracking. These are quick videos, so I'm not going to put the effort into quad tracking, unfortunately. Sorry, guys. I have limited time. I work a day job, all that fun stuff. So sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. But anyways, what I'll end up doing is I take this take, and I put another take next to it where the waveforms look similar. And then I go through and I take what matches up. So if I put these centered as opposed to left and right and I listen to it, you'll get like a chorusy effect, like an echo, if the takes don't line up. Whereas they'll just be like generally louder and fuller otherwise. So you'll want to take those sections, the ones that sound louder and fuller, not the sections that sound like a chorus. So you can see that I've kind of globbed a couple takes together. I liked what 12 sounded like here, and then I took the end because the timing just lined it up absolutely perfectly. You'll notice again I replaced this fill. Didn't do a great job in takes 11 and 12. I guess I just wasn't on my game when I took those two back to back-ish. But anyway, I think that's just kind of funny. And then I liked the timing on 14 here, except the beginning was a little bit off, so it just didn't sound quite right. So I double tracked that up and we got that. Now what we're going to do with these tracks is we're going to pan one to the right and one to the left. You can pan them to center too, and you do get some of that fullness effect, but you get a little bit more of the loudness than the fullness when you pan them that way. So in general, we want to pan one all the way to the left, one all the way to the right. It doesn't matter which one's which way. Dumber devices like a smartphone that only have one speaker will combine these two into one centered track anyway. So it's going to sound better on my computer than it's ever going to sound on my phone or my Bluetooth speaker in the shower or whatever. The reason that we take two separate takes as opposed to just taking the same take and doubling it up is the timing has to be in sync, but like not quite in sync, because if it's entirely in sync, it's just going to get louder if we double it up, which is why we can't take two of the exact same track. we need to take 2 different takes and we need to put them next to each other from each side. This is why you see a lot of bands that aren't even doing guitar solos and they have 2 guitar players, and you're like, why do these guys have 2 guitar players? They're just playing the same thing. It's really for this fullness effect. It's to make the guitars sound more like they're there in the mix. So they're getting that effect live by doing those sorts of things. Anyway, let's listen to what these 2 takes sound like together. So it sounds a lot better. It's more full. It sounds more present. That's really cool. I like that. You'll notice one thing that's kind of interesting is this take goes a little bit longer on the note at the end that I held out. Normally, if I was releasing this as a song like an MP3 or something on Spotify, I would probably chop the takes here-ish so that you don't really get that effect. But I'm going to leave it be just like this because I'm going to edit my video in Blender and I'm going to end up chopping off part of the video toward the end anyway. So there's not really any sense in doing that twice, you know? It's silly. It's wasted time. It's all about doing this stuff quickly because what we like to do is play. At least me. I like playing a lot more than I like editing. I work on a computer all day. So I would much rather spend my time playing guitar than editing guitar. So trying to find these streamlined little tricks makes it so much better. But anyway, that's it for the guitar tracks for now. When you see me next, it will be a day or 2 from now when I'm putting the rest of this video together. I will have the bass tracks recorded. I'll have done something similar with that, although I don't double track my bass tracks. I just center them. The bass is kind of just there on its own. It's really nice and loud the way I've got it set up anyway. The next time you'll hear this will be with the bass and the drums, and hopefully, honestly, you've already heard it because you've probably watched my Swola135 video. Anyway, I'll see you guys again in a minute. Guys, I'm back now. I took a little bit of a break. I recorded my bass, and I went through and I listened to all the bass takes I really wanted to listen to. Bass always goes way easier for me. You can see I only had to take 17 takes total. Well, maybe it's 21. Yeah, 21 takes total. Overall, most of them ended up pretty good. The takes that got thrown away were literally takes that had mistakes in them, and I don't really want to use them. The other cool part is I usually don't end up having to edit my bass. I play the bass to the guitar tracks with the drum track actually turned off so that I can hear the guitar track a little bit better, and that helps me make sure that the bass is in perfect timing with the guitar and not necessarily with the drums. And I think that helps a lot because sometimes we play a little bit out of time, and when you've got these perfect machine drums, you know, there's that human element there. So the bass matching the guitar makes a lot more sense than it matching the drums, so we won't notice as many timing issues in that case. You can see we've got our double track mix that we talked about a little bit earlier in the video. I've got the bass track that I have picked out of the 10 different bass takes that I decided to keep. And I've got the drum track. Now, looking at our mixing a little bit, you'll notice I've lowered the volume of the drum track a bit. This is usually where I end up putting the drums in my videos. I think it's a good level where you can hear the drums, but it's not overpowering. You need to have that there, obviously, right? Because that's the main reason we're doing these videos. But at the end of the day, the showcase is the guitar and the bass, so the drums need to be blended into the background a little bit. I've played with my bass sound quite a bit over time in different volumes and things like that. I've kind of settled on the current bass sound that I've got, and I really like it. but it's a little bit loud compared to some of the other bass sounds I've had, so it'll get clipping and stuff every so often if I leave it at 0. So I usually turn it down just a smidge in the mix so you can still hear the bass, but you don't want to hear that like staticky sound when you're listening to your songs, right? So I had to crop it out so that it's no longer doing that. Anyway, let's take a listen. This is going to be the exact audio export that I use in the Swola video. So if you haven't checked that out, now would be a good time. Well, after this video, would be a good time to do that. But without further ado, let's take a look and see what it sounds like. So that sounds pretty good to me. I don't know about you guys. If you've got any pointers on where you think I could maybe have done better with my mix, or things that I could maybe do differently to make it better, I would definitely appreciate those. I'm getting better every time I do one of these, but of course it takes time and practice, just like everything else that we do. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and definitely check out my Swola135 video and my other videos if you haven't seen those. I hope that this video was really informational and it helped you understand how my mixing process works and how I develop my videos. Until next time, stay heavy, my friends!